Welcome in, Seahawks fans, to a live instant post-game reaction to this on the Hawk side to the Seahawks 21-19 loss to the LA Rams today. I'm your host, Bryce Coutts, and tonight we're going to do kind of a quick recap of what occurred, some of the things that I noticed that I think are going to maybe potentially kind of open up everyone's eyes to some of the issues that we saw today with the Seattle Seahawks and especially on the offensive side of the ball. So make sure you guys get your comments in. If you're watching this on Twitter, put them in the chat there as well. I will lead and preface this show with this. If anyone comes in here with just blind rage or anger towards certain things, you won't be talked to on the show. You might as well just skip and go to another show, as I'm not going to put up with any of that tonight. So if you're going to come in here, you're going to have an educated conversation. You're going to bring, your point of view in a professional and articulated way. Great. If you're just going to come in here and spew a bunch of hate about stuff, whether it's players, coaches, whatever, that's not going to be tolerated on the show, and you're just going to get removed from the show. So I wanted to lead that off right off the top. So we'll get into that conversation about this loss for the Seattle Seahawks right after this.
Inside the 15, looks, floats, fires to the end zone, ball is caught, touchdown, Seahawks! Dunking it over the bar is Jackson Smith-Njigba. Driving on the run, Lynch, 40, pushes the man, 35, look at him go! He's down to 20, 15, he could go! He is gonna go! Touchdown, Seahawks! Oh my word! A 67-yard run!
So as I started off this show tonight, the Seahawks lose 21-19 to the Los Angeles Rams. And I think this was a game where it was kind of a coin flip at the beginning of the week. A lot of us kind of had the thought process that, this could be a game for Seattle to go in and win and steal from the Rams. But at the same time, the Rams have been a team that's kind of been a thorn in our side, just like the 49ers were at early points in the Pete Carroll era. And so, there's a couple things that tonight I think came through, and I think one of them, is the offense. This was an offensive collapse, and I am not going to sit on this show and put the entirety of that blame at the feet of Sam Darnold. And I'm sure if some of you haven't already, you saw Ernest Jones' comments at his press conference post-game, and I think he's made it very clear how that team feels, and the same with Mike McDonald as well. Yes, Sam made mistakes today. He had 4 interceptions, and, I think definitely on some of those, there's definitely choices or decisions at certain points. But then at the same time, I got to flip and look at the guy calling the plays. And everyone the last couple of weeks has been talking about, hey, Clint Kubiak's a head coaching candidate. Look what he's done. And there were the write-ups and everything. Yeah, but Clint Kubiak's also the guy that when we played week 1 against the 49ers, completely went off script of what we were going to be as an offense. And you saw similar things occur in that game. It just, we played a better team today than that 49ers team. And now you got to see that. And again, we only lost by 2 points in the end of it. So yes, Sam made mistakes. I expect Sam to be better. And, you're going to hear it from the national media. Oh, he's seeing ghosts, or, oh, look, he can't get over the Rams. Yeah, you know what? There's going to be conversation like that because that's the easy narrative to pick instead of digging deeper and looking at this. And so just some stats to throw at you guys have already come out. Tonight's game, our offense is supposed to be run the ball, play action, and that's what we've been so good at so far this year is our play action passing game. We called 9 play action passes all game for a game that we lost by 2 points and never were down by more than 11 points in the entirety of this game. That is malpractice by an offensive coordinator that wants to run the ball and they want to be physical and they want to run play action to then turn around and ask your quarterback to throw the ball 36 times in pure drop back. And if I flip these numbers and I go back and I look at our game against the 49ers in week 1, very similar stat line and similar result occurred. We had 22 pure drop back passes for Sam Darnold and only 1 back entire game. Those are completely imbalanced numbers. You're not going to have success. Sam is not a pure drop back 40 times a game, throw it all over the yard quarterback. We knew that when we signed him in the offseason. He needs a run game. He needs play action. Those are the things that make him good. He's good going through his process that way. If I pull up the stats from just another game this year that he played well, had an interception and still, the Houston Texans game against one of the better NFL defenses, there were 11 play action plays called in that game, and there were 20 pure dropbacks. That balance there that you see of only 10 being the difference, you're never going to have it where play action jumps over pure dropback. It's just not the reality of it. But that number being closer there, that helps Sam Darnold. That helps this offense. And there was no point tonight that I feel like, hey, Seattle, we need to go complete shotgun. We need to just spread it out. Like, how many times did we see Sam empty tonight? Which is not something we've normally seen from this team throughout the season. So when I'm cutting that blame pie of like, okay, why did this offense collapse today? I'm laying half of that at Sam Darnold's feet going, yeah, you know what, Sam, you got to make some better decisions out there. But at the same time, I'm taking the other half of that pie and going, Clint Kubiak, you need to be better. If everyone wants to talk about you being this offensive, kind of guru in some respects, you know the system so well, and you're a head coaching candidate and you're going to be out of Seattle, then you shouldn't be having this much of a discrepancy against two NFC West teams. And it seems to be a trend to me of when we play teams that run a similar offense to us, Clint Kubiak panics. And it seems maybe panic's the wrong word, has indecision about what he's going to do on offense, but then it trickles down and has an effect on the rest of the team. Why were we constantly taking Kenneth Walker out of the game today? Kenneth Walker had a great game running the ball today. May not have been as great as everyone wants it to be or as flashy, but today I think there's a conversation to be made that Kenneth Walker showed why he can be considered the better running back in this room because he had some explosive runs. He started to get the run game going in the right direction, and then we'd come out and abandon it. And there was no reason to abandon the run game today. I didn't at one point look at it and go, yeah, you know what? Can't run the ball at all. Let's abandon it. Let's go full pass heavy like Ryan Grubb's back in town. Like, it's things like that for me when I look at a play call and I go, this explains why Clint Kubiak hasn't had a lot of OC jobs. He had the 1 year in Minnesota. Yes, I get Zimmer got fired. And then he had the 1 year in New Orleans and that staff got fired. But it also explains why in between those two stops, he wasn't an offensive coordinator anywhere else. And I think this is something that we got to kind of temper our expectations with Clint Kubiak being out of town this year. I think there's more conversation around the league going, you know what? Maybe Clint Kubiak's just a good OC that runs a good system, but has moments like this because that's two divisional games now where he's faltered as an offensive coordinator. And, I'll get to the chats and the comments, but that was something I need to get off my chest because today sitting there and watching that, I was getting so frustrated by how our offense was starting drives. Like, situationally, we're coming out in shotgun on first down and throwing the ball when we don't need to. We can still run the ball. There's a full quarter to go and we're down 21-12. Yeah, we can still run the football and be effective. We can still run our normal offense. We don't need to panic into things. And then you go to the up tempo late on the game, which is fine to move the ball and you pass it. And the thing was too, is again, we wondered what would happen if a team took away JSN for a period of time. Yes, JSN was 9 of 12 today for over 100 yards again receiving, but there was a time and period there where we weren't be able to scheme JSN open. And the Rams did a great job today of playing a lot of press and bump and run and not allowing Seattle's quick passing game to get going because they rerouted receivers. And again, where was Clint Kubiak's counterpunch to that throughout most of this game? You can't keep calling quick game if it's man coverage and guys are getting bumped off their routes and now your QB's having to double clutch and hold the ball because when you're calling quick, whether it's in shotgun or under center, that ball is expected to be out in under 3 seconds, probably under 2 in some respects. And asking an offensive line to hold on when they know it's not a long developing pass concept, they're getting quick pass sets, and that means that they're just giving a shot and getting set real quick. They're not really flowing with that rush, and that's where that pass rush was able to get home and create some problems and get in Sam's face. And they did some really good blitzing too and stunts that they pulled on the Seahawks offensive line. And I think Olu in pass pro today, I think struggled a bit in just getting things communicated. But that's where I look at this and I go, like, the defense today, in my opinion, showed they are an elite unit. And we'll talk about that right now. The defense proves they are elite. They are a top unit in the NFL. No questions asked by me. They are one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. They made Matthew Stafford's day difficult today. He was not as clean either in a lot of ways. But that's where I look at it and I go, okay, so, if our defense is going to play that well, then why are we panicking on offense? We can, punt the ball. We can play to, not lose the game, but also play it in a way that we don't have to panic and try and push things. And that's why I just never understood why we were throwing the ball so much. Sam threw it 44 times today, but he had 25 attempts in the third quarter. Sam Darnold's finished most games with 28 attempts. So that should tell you right there, something was off in this offensive game plan today. It just didn't make sense. And again, I think the Rams probably feel lucky they got out of this game with a win, because for Seattle to play that bad and only lose by 2, I'm very curious to see what that matchup's going to be like in a couple weeks when we're here at home and we're doing our rivalry night and playing them. So, K9 today, 16 carries, 67 yards, 4.2 average. Charbonnet, 11 carries, 37 yards, 3.4 yards. Like, your run game was there today, but you just kept kind of going away from it sporadically throughout the night. And then today again, JSN, 12 targets, 9 catches, 105 yards. Kenneth Walker, 3 catches, and this is what I like, 3 catches, 44 yards. K9 got involved in the passing game. So did Charbonnet with 2 catches for 10 yards. And then AJ Barnett, we got our tight ends involved. 11 targets, 10 catches, 74 yards. Even Cooper Kupp had 7 targets today, only 3 catches for 23. And this is my other thing that I was in a watch party today with the 12 Talk crew, which I absolutely loved and enjoyed, and was able to, vent my frustrations regularly throughout the game. Stop using Shaheed as a gadget guy and let him actually be an NFL receiver. Like, you throw him the one go ball that was slightly underthrown by Darnold in the end zone. You just need to put it on the back pylon. But there are other points. Like, let Shaheed do what he was brought here to do, which isn't to run tosses and isn't to run a bunch of reverses. It's to scare defenses that they have to take somebody out of the box. Let him go deep. Let him do those things. And so, that's kind of where I look at it. But let's, I've voiced my part. I want to see what you guys have to say and how you feel about today's game. So we'll start this right off at the top here. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing. Appreciate you being in here. With 4 less turnovers, we had a good chance to win this game. Still like Darnold, but I really hope this doesn't turn into a pattern. And I don't think it will turn into a pattern. I think, again, you have to look at what your offensive play caller asked him to do today and asked the offense to do in a lot of ways. And it'll be interesting to see what they do versus the Titans, because if all of a sudden we see a pivot back to, hey, we're going to be more balanced between our play action and pure drop back, then you got to ask yourself, okay, what is it so off-putting about playing a division rival that has Clint Kubiak, or especially the Rams or the 49ers, going and trying to reinvent his playbook every week? Like, it seems odd, because we didn't do it versus the Cardinals. And the only thing I can think about that is Petzwig doesn't run the same kind of offense that we do. He has a little bit of it from when he was with Stefanski, but not the same knowledge of it that McVay and Shanahan do. We got Bob in here. The key to winning this game was minimizing the turnovers. We failed. 100%. Turnovers, I said it was one of my keys. I know a bunch of people did. It was going to be the keys to this game, and this is what kind of, happens when you turn the ball over. And this is a trend. I know Aaron Levine on Q13 Fox mentioned it, that the Seahawks, I think, are -7 right now in turnover differential. And in Pete Carroll's era, we were never that, except for year 1. We were never a negative. And it's something we've been in both situations with Mike. So it's something he's got to start preaching to these guys, is protect the ball, because we have to be able to get back into the positive with that. What else we got tonight? Space, exactly. We're 7-3. It's not the end of our season by any means. It's not. We win the next Rams game, the next 49ers game. The division is completely still on our table for us to go get. We got NKM12 in here. Not going to lie, after the 4th INT, I was hoping badly for Locke to come in. I did not want to see Drew Lock, because I don't think Drew Lock would have done anything better in those situations with the way the play calling was going. I don't think it would have helped Darnold to have him yanked in that type of game. If the game had been a blowout and you were talking, the Rams were up by 3 scores, then yeah, put Lock in there, get him some reps. But outside of that, yeah. Oh, one of our moderator in here, Ian Victor. I've been saying this with a good friend. Darnold is okay and can lead a team to the playoffs, but the franchise quarterback talk needs to take a pause. I'm going to push back on that because I think the franchise quarterback tag needs to really be dived into and what your expectations of a franchise quarterback are. If you're looking for Pat Mahomes and that's your threshold of franchise quarterback, you're going to maybe find 3 of those guys every couple of decades. Like you look at a couple teams, there's only 4 teams really, I'd say, in the NFL that have those, maybe 5. But outside of that, like there are franchise quarterbacks that aren't. I think, again, putting the blame completely at Darnold's feet is where this is going to be a misguided nomer that's going to go on and on and on. This is not completely on Sam Darnold. And I don't remember a lot of people after Seattle was going to a Super Bowl and we won a game where our quarterback threw 5 interceptions and some of them were horrible and as bad as what Sam did today. And everybody wasn't calling for that to be the end of a franchise quarterback. And Russell had done that at different points throughout his career up until that NFC Championship game. But he took us to Super Bowls and he won. We haven't seen what Sam can do yet in the playoffs with this team. And we've seen, yes, some bad things occur with Sam where there's games like this. But again, look at your play caller and the position he is putting his quarterback in and playmakers. Rockman drums, totally. We got away from what we do good. And when you get off script like that, that's going to make things more difficult for you to win in tight games where you're playing against a team that's as good as you are. X-Wing back in, looking for silver linings. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. We had that issue with LA a couple years ago. If we have to lose to LA once this year, I'll take this one. And that's kind of how I look at this too. Your division is always a tougher thing to win because you're playing teams that know you more frequently and more regularly on a basis of what you like to do and do well. And I said this in the 12 Talk chat was every time Mike has played Sean McVay, the first time in Baltimore in 2003, McVay got the best of them. They lost. The Rams lost the game, but the Ravens got bested on defense. Like McVay had his number. Last year, the game in Seattle, McDonald had McVay's number that game. Like he had shut down McVay for most of that day. We had the couple red zone INTs that caused us problems. But then like last year's end of the season game, I look more like at a preseason game. Like it didn't have nearly the amount of impact on it as, other games because the tiebreaker had already been decided. So it'll be interesting to see what Mike does coming out of this next one. Yes, Ian, this is concerning. And I'm hoping it's nothing serious, but it didn't look good when he got rolled up on. And I'll tell you this, Christian Haynes did not look good getting thrown in there, which was surprising. They threw Haynes in over Cable Dew in there, who's been kind of practicing at left guard for most of the season. And on one of those reps, I swear Christian Haynes was trying to sack Sam Darnold. He got pushed back so quickly into Sam's lap, and Sam had to bail out there on that tempo drive to try and get the field goal. X-Wing, yeah, Zabel's thing I'm most worried about. Offense will continue to grow, but without Zabel, I feel a lot less confident about the rest of the season. Yeah. Johnny, who's responsible for clock management in the end? That is on your coaches. That is on McDonald. That is on Kubiak and when they're calling timeouts and what they're deciding to do. And it was no different than when they got their first down before the end of the first half and they settled for that field goal. They had ample time. They had multiple timeouts to get more cracks at going to the end zone. And instead, they wasted down to 24 seconds before they took their second timeout. To me, there were a couple clock management issues today as well that I think McDonald needs to clean up. Agreed. Yep. And again, that can be based on what coaches are telling them too, like to get to the next play, to run the next play. So those are some things I think they're going to have to work on. PT in here. When is Riley Mills coming back from IR? I do not expect Riley Mills to play this season for the Seattle Seahawks. He was asked, I think last week, McDonald was asked, and his answer kind of gave you the impression that they have no intention of bringing him back any sooner. I think they look at him and go, unless there's a key injury to that front outside of Jaron Reed's one, which they think they can fill with Peely and Bohanna, I don't expect to see Riley Mills. I think they'll do the same thing they did with Darryl Terrell. They'll roll him over a season, and his contract will tax to next year, and that's when you'll see Riley Mills come back. Yep, exactly. Rockman, his game plan didn't. It was nowhere near what it was before. So, And I think that's something that Mike needs to have a long conversation with him on, like, what is going on when we play the 49ers and the Rams that makes you deviate so much. Here we go. Mookie Alexander in the chat, my boss over there at Field Goals. The offense needs Horton back. Cup as receiver 2 is having diminishing returns. Yes, I would agree. Cup is a situational player at points for you, but not having Torrey Horton in there to stress, I think, caused some problems. And the other thing that was surprising to me today too was the lack of Elijah Arroyo use. He did not get used as much as I thought he would. And, AJ Barner had a great day today with his, 11 for 10 for 70 yards. But Elijah Arroyo was also drafted to be a guy that can stretch and cause matchup nightmares. And I feel like Kubiak still hasn't used him to his potential yet. Johnny in here. The first series penalty against Spoon, 15 yards, was effed up. How is that not reviewable by the league? I agree. That was a horrible call. Absolutely horrible call. What else do we have in here? Got one in here again from NKM. Do you think the 4 INTs will hurt Sam's confidence going forward? I don't think so. I think he's got the mentality now of kind of just move on. I think he'll be fine. And I think he, throughout the game, proved that he could be fine and come back and keep throwing. So I don't expect it to hurt his offense or his confidence. I expect that they'll realize what they can and cannot do in certain situations, and they need to be better in that regard. And there you go. See, Mookie with the stats. Always love it, Mookie. Thank you. Seattle now has the most turnovers in the NFL at 20. Can't win football games with that. What else do we got here? The Arroyo throw seemed ill-advised. It was the exact same concept they had run versus Washington. And I'll agree. That one, there's a couple things. I think Arroyo needs to do a better job of getting his inside on his route because he's got basically what they call a bender route. Call it a skinny post, bender route. But there was nothing also to threaten the safety off the hash where the safety was holding in that too high look. Like where Sam's trying to go with the ball and split the safeties is fine. That's something quarterbacks are taught in too high safety shells. You want to try and split them with a route and throw the ball down the pipe. That's fine. But you need to have something to pull that safety off that hash. And again, there wasn't that route there. And so for Sam, again, everything is such a quick rhythm throw that there was a quick progression, get to it. He liked Arroyo's position and threw it, and the safety just broke down hard on it and beat Arroyo to the ball. So, yes, ill-advised, but at the same time, not necessarily totally wrong, more of a conceptual issue of, okay, how are you as a play caller going to move that safety and threaten him to get him off that hash and allow Arroyo a better inside release there? Bob Thatcher, Bryce, I agree with you. The majority of the blame should fall on Kubiak. His play calling didn't give us a chance to win. Yeah, and I think that's an honest conversation to be had is, again, I've said 50-50 on the pie because, Sam still is pulling the trigger. But I think Kubiak's got to do a much better job of putting this team in successful positions to win and not abandoning things and not getting too over-reliant on things. And it seems with teams that he's worried that the offensive minds on the other side are going to give away the secrets. Well, okay, you're doing the same thing for Mike when you're playing Kyle and the 49ers or McVay, and you understand the lingo and what the whole point of the offense is. Did McVay go away from what the Rams do right now? No. He ran the ball the same way. He called a lot of the same concepts and stuck with it. He throws different wrinkles for sure with the 13 personnel, which was a problem today for the Seahawks to deal with at a point. But he doesn't completely abandon things and goes completely awry from what they do as a foundational offense. Johnny, it's real simple. Look at the conceptual thing and the way that you're asking your quarterback and offense to function. If you're putting a percentage up and cranking it up in certain situations, when you're a team that's built on play action, running the ball, and you're not calling any of those things, you are increasing the likelihood of those things happening. You're putting your quarterback and your offense in positions to fail. Like the outside breaking out route to the wide side with JSN. And basically the way that you had that set was a quick throw and they stunted. Yeah, okay, the ball went out there and it got picked. But why are you calling that play in that situation? Why in 3rd down and 3 are you not calling a play action play and you're calling a straight drop back? So the D-line can just run a stunt and know that you're not handing the ball off at all. Those are things where you can start looking and going, yeah, okay, Sam pulled the trigger, but Kubiak's also the guy calling the play and going, hey, this is what I want you to run. You got to also, as an offensive coordinator, put your guys in positions to be successful. Onslaught comes in. If Sable is done for the season, what effect does that have on the offense? How does the adjustment hit the playbook? It's going to be really interesting to see what that adjustment for the playbook looks like. If Christian Haynes is out there, you might even see more zone running and get away completely from any gap stuff. It'll be very, very interesting to see what the condition is of Zabel. And, hopefully it's nothing serious, but this is kind of where now you got to figure out, okay, is Cable do you bring Shane Lemieux off practice squad IR if he's healthy? Like, there's going to be some conversation I think they're going to have on what does this offensive line look like without Gray Zabel out there. What else do we got in here? This game made me want to see. Ian comes in. This game wanted me to see Milrow out there, low key, even though he is the emergency QB for the rest of the season. Hopefully he develops. Yeah, that's the whole thing. But I don't want to hear this. Oh, we should have put Milrow out there, and Milrow is nowhere near ready to play. You think the 4 interceptions was bad now? We might have seen 5 sacks and 3 interceptions that were even worse than that with Milrow because he's just not ready to play at an NFL level. So I hope he is developing, and I think what they're doing right now with him is right and giving him those opportunities to sit, learn, develop. But it'll be interesting. That is a crazy stat, though, that none of these teams had sacks today. I think the QBs did a good job of getting out of pressure in a lot of those. There were a couple times Sam was close to getting sacked, so. Yes. On offense, there is a missing killer and mentality there, Ian. You're right. Mookie comes back in. Seahawks offense lost the middle of the field access, and it changed the game plan. Yep. Exactly. There was no counterpunch, Mookie. They closed it off, and all of a sudden, Clint Kubiak had no counterpunch. And the ways that you do that to get that middle of field access back is run the ball and play action. Get the linebackers to start creeping up. Get them to roll a safety down back into the box a bit, which, again, they didn't really do a lot of. And that'll start to open those things up. And that's where I think you see, again, you bring in a new toy in Shaheed. And I think there's been a couple of things I've looked at and gone, okay, I hope Kubiak doesn't get too cute with things. And today I think it caught up with him a little bit. Mookie, ironically, it's the inverse of the Russ game plan where you wanted Russ to only to be able to throw away from the boundary. Correct. AB comes in. Does Sam just freeze up in big games and force the issue? He didn't look comfortable. I think that's a gross misunderstanding of the situations. If you go back and you look at the game against the Rams last year, you look at the game against the Detroit Lions, your players can only do what their offensive or their game plans give them from their coaches. Right? Like, it's not like Sam's out there calling his own plays and going like, yeah, I'm in control of absolutely everything. He's not. He's in control of where throwing the ball and such, but there are reads and there are things based into it. And if you're running an offensive scheme where it's a lot of split field reads, it's basically pre-snap dictated where to go with the ball on the side of the field, not necessarily the player, but the side of the field. So you got to look into those type of things. I don't think it's a thing of him freezing. I think it's a situation of play callers get out schemed because Kevin O'Connell last year versus the Rams, he got sacked 9 times. Same thing Kevin O'Connell did to Carson Wentz this year that landed him on IR. And the Rams defensive secondary last year locked up the Vikings receivers with Justin Jefferson and Addison and all these top level talented players and it caused the same problem. So I don't think it's a thing of Sam freezing in the big game. That was absolutely an insane catch. 100%. And JSN's, that's probably, JSN's good for 1 or 2 of those a season, it seems. So, yeah, It's impressive what he does for sure, and they're definitely going to be paying that man some big money coming soon. Rockman, Amy, I kind of knew after that second interception it was game over. Sucks. We almost won too. Yep. No, it was a fact. I didn't think it was game over yet, Rockman, in my opinion, until I saw them come out. I believe it was in the third quarter, and they came out opening. Yeah, it was. They opened the second half throwing the ball basically 3 times in a row. Instead of just running, getting into their offense, running the ball, doing those things. That's when I knew. There's Amy. It was frustrating, but I'm in line with Bryce about the play calling. Yeah, Amy got firsthand experience of listening to me during a live game today and hearing my frustration sitting on the other side. So Mookie, I dislike McDonald tucking his tail after the failed Barner sneak. Possessions are at a premium. Agreed. And I would like to see another play off the Barner sneak. Like everybody knows when you line up AJ Barner, you're going to tush push it. Well, have it where you line up, whether it's Rashid, if Horton comes back, or K9 or someone kind of winged off to the left, and have Barner act like he's going to go forward and give it on a little jet around the edge when they all pummel forward. Like, have something off of this that at least makes the defense think we can't just fully sell out for this because they may run this. AB, how big of a loss is Sundell at center? Hard to tell today. No, I thought Olu actually played okay. There were a couple pass sets. I think he's strong, but in the run game, I think, again, you see the impact of him in the run game and understanding fronts. I thought they did a much better job in the run game, again, against a good run defense. I think there's a chance that even if Sundell's healthy, if Zabel's out and Sundell gets back before him, maybe Sundell moves to guard, and that's how you hold over the Zabel situation. That'll be an interesting one to see what they do there. What else we got? Yeah, exactly. I saw that. Okay, so I thought that was what they did, Rockman. Yeah, the Ravens faked it, same play D for a TD, the barn burner play. I mean, yeah. No, I wondered, I think that was Andrews who took it and went the other way with it. So yeah. Overall, like, I'll say this. You can nitpick everything you want in this game. This was a situation where the Seahawks had a bad day. Sam Darnold had a bad day. Clint Kubiak had a bad day. And you only lost to the Rams in their house by 2 points. So you get them at home. It's always hard to beat a team twice in a row, let alone 3 times. Mike McDonald is one of the very few coaches in this league that is very adaptable. It'll be interesting. And I said one thing, on my preview shows this week, that experience versus adaptability. Experience might get you the first game. And even Mike kind of alluded to it, I think, a little bit in his post-game press conference today, where he said, we're still a young team. We're still growing. We're still learning. He even said, as am I. That's where I think the adaptability part is going to be huge in game 2, because for a team that won today and did some good things in the Rams, especially on defense, there's a chance you stay kind of content with those things being like, yep, this is what we're going to do. And if Clint Kubiak is supposed to be the offensive coordinator and the head coaching candidate everyone wants to make him to be, then Clint Kubiak needs to have a hell of a plan to deal with this Rams defense. Because if I'm Chris Shula there, yeah, I'll throw some wrinkles in, but mainly I'm going to do the same thing that caused you so many problems. I'm going to take away the middle of the field again. And I'm going to try and make you figure out how to beat me other ways. And Clint Kubiak's job is, hey, I got to find my counter punches for when they want to do those type of things. Run Shaheed down the pipe, the middle of the field, high and away, and then run someone else. Like, do things like that are going to stress them. That's what you have to do. So we'll see. What do we got here? X-Wing comes in. I've been calling for the fake barnyard since before the season started, and I thought it would be Milrow, snap it past Barnard to Darnold, and hit a tight end leaking out. I heard that today too. I think Josh from 12 Talk brought that up. That is a very tricky thing to do just based on the location of where Barnard would be in that. To try and snap it between 2 sets of legs back to your quarterback. I could see a one where you have it where Barner acts like he's going to step forward and steps back and pops it over the top. That would be one that I could definitely see being an option for sure. Ivy, we beat the spread. Well, there's a positive. Always take positives out of things. Big Mike comes in. McDonald has still not beaten upper echelon opponent. Yeah. And I think, we're in year 1.5 of Mike McDonald. I think he's going to get an opportunity. He did beat the 49ers last year in Santa Clara. So there's one thing he did do, but they weren't the 49ers team that they are, well, they're kind of the 49ers team they are because they're injury button. He hasn't beaten the Rams in a way where it matters. And that's how I'll put it for that. So outside of that, everybody, keep this kind of short and sweet tonight, just because it is a bit of a sour note. But there's going to be a couple different things coming up this week. So upcoming content for me this week, I will be having Chris Clough on. Used to write for the Seattle Times, written a couple Seahawk books. I'll have Chris on to kind of break down this game. We will do Seahawks Aftermath this week with Michael Thompson and myself breaking down this game. Obviously, hopefully at that point, we'll have some injury updates on what's going on with Gray Zabel and even Tyrese Knight, who left with a concussion, and see what Mike has to say on his coach's show, obviously in his press conference, see if there's any tidbits in there that he kind of gives away. But outside of that, tonight sucks, tough loss, but nothing's gone. There's no things out of the realm for the Seahawks. It's not like we're not going to make the playoffs or anything. This is just a opportunity for this team to grow again, just like they did after Tampa Bay, just like they did after the 49ers, to get better. And they'll get another shot at the Rams, as will they get another shot with the 49ers later on. And they've win those 2 games. It'll give Seattle the opportunity that they want, which is to have that ability to win the NFC West. So we'll see how that all shapes up there towards the end. But I thank all of you for tuning in tonight. And as always, stay loud, be proud, and go Hawks. Have a good night, everybody.